right, so that is the slip note run, and this is a run that is obviously very flashy. It's used in a lot of different styles, but especially in country music, and it was made famous by an artist named Floyd Cramer back in the early 1960s. And he had this technique that he used a lot in his music called the slip note. And what I mean by that is you could do it over chords where you do, instead of just playing a C major chord, you could do something like this to an F. And as you can see, I'm moving from one note to another note really quick. Like that. And so you're moving from one note to another note pretty quickly. And again, like I said, Floyd Cramer's done this. If you've ever listened to Bruce Hornsby has a lot of that in there, a lot of that just flavor in his music. And like I said, this is a fairly easy run to learn once you know a couple of things. Number one, this run is based off of a pentatonic scale, and a pentatonic scale has 5 notes in it. Unlike our major and minor scales that typically have 7 notes, the pentatonic has 5. So if we look at the key of C major, you got C, E, D, F, G, A, B, and C. All white notes, okay? No black notes, just white notes. And you're gonna play the 1, 2, 3, you're gonna skip the 4, you're gonna go to 5, play the 6, and skip the 7, and go to 1. So 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, and 1. And so on. So again, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, and 1. And that's the key of C major. Now what I want to do is move it to a key where you can really visualize this. It's very easy to see the scale. We're going to move to the key of G flat major. Now I don't want you to freak out because you've probably never played in G flat, and that's okay, but all you're going to do is play all the black notes. So if we move to key of G flat, all you're going to do is play black notes. You don't play any white notes, just the black notes. You're going to play G flat, A flat, B flat, D flat, E flat, and then back to G flat. Again, that's the 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, and 1. Listen to how that sounds. Very harpesque sounding. You know, you've probably heard people do runs like this, where they just slide up and down the keys. And what's nice about this particular scale is that there are no wrong notes. You know, if you play a chord here and you play any of those notes, there are no wrong notes. You know, if you play G flat here, you can play B flat, you play E flat, D flat, A flat, you can play 2 notes together, G flat, B flat. And that's what's nice about this particular scale is that, again, there are no wrong notes. Now, that slide that I just did there, you can really only do that on the black notes. If you go to a different key, it's going to be a little bit more challenging to play. So now that we've done that in G flat, let's move to the key that we did the lick in, and that is in the key of G, G major. So we've got 1 sharp, that's F sharp. You've got G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and G. And I want you to think of this run in 2 parts. So part 1, we're going to think of it in chords, basically. And the first chord is going to be a G2 chord. So you've got G, like a G triad with G, B, D. You're going to add in the 2 in there. A. Okay, so you're playing the 1, 2, 3, and the 5 all together. And then the second part, we're going to shift down to our first inversion of our G chord. So we've still got G, B, and D. We're going to add in the E. So that's kind of the second half. You've got the first half and the second half. As you can hear, I can play this chord and there are no wrong notes. Okay, so again, our G2 chord, that's kind of the first way of playing it, and then we shift down to this first inversion, adding the E. Now, one of the keys to this is the slip note. That is really kind of the foundational sound to this, and that slip note is, you know, just a almost like a slang term for this. It's really more of a grace note. You move from one note to a primary note. It's like a pivot note. Think of it that way. So if we come to this G triad here, we want to get to the B here. But before we get to the B, we're going to play the A. And it's going to be quick, like this. If you add in your pedal, kind of lift up on the pedal as you're playing the A, but then land on it with the B. And when you do this, you can either do it a couple of ways. You can play this G2 chord with a G, A, and D, and then as you play it, move up to the B. Again, it's a pivot, it's a hinge, if you want to think of it that way. You're just moving quickly from the A to the B. Same thing if you come down here to this first inversion, you're moving from the D to the E. Like that. You can also leave off the bottom note and just hold the top note and do the hinge. So from the A to the B, and from the D to the E. You can come up an octave. Like that. Now another kind of thing to add on to this is almost like a turn. Like that. You kind of come down to it. And that's kind of the beginning of our run when I first started. Like that. It's just a little bit of a turn as you're coming down. So when you first start it, you're starting on the A, it's a little turn, and then from D, E, D to B, like that. But when you play that, you're holding the top note. Notice I'm holding the D. When I come down here, I'm holding the G. The D again, and then the D, or the G again at the top. Back up on the D, the G, and you're kind of anchoring your sound right here with this high note. Like that. Now again, that Floyd Cramer lick that we were talking about, the slip note, you can begin to change things up. Instead of playing it like this, you can play it like this. A little more broken. I'm adding a little bit more of that slip. It's not necessarily a run like this. It's more of kind of a, you're slipping in on the chord. You start up high. Like that. You're kind of dancing on the keys as you come down. You know, another way to do it is a little bit more flashy, and it's almost like a quickly arpeggiated run. So instead of just doing this, it's more of an arpeggiated thing. Individually. And then you can come down to the next one. And then cross. And down. So instead of it sounding like this, it could sound like this. Now that seems a little bit more flashy, and all I'm doing there is I'm arpeggiating the notes like that. I start on that slip note and then jump down to the next slip note. The next slip note, and the next, and the next. And then I connect them. So if you do it slowly, like that, a little bit slower. Pick up the tempo. And then up to speed. So again, a couple of different ways of doing it. You can do more of that country lick. You can do it broken. You can do it with more of the arpeggiated action. And that's when you're coming down. A lot of times when you go up, you can do the same thing with all of these, but one of the things that I like to do is I like to change it up and do more of that. I might do that country lick kind of coming down, and then do it more of the arpeggiated lick going up. So it would sound something like this. And what I'm doing there is I'm just kind of striking on some of these notes. As I mentioned, remember earlier, there are no wrong notes in this pentatonic scale. And so whenever I start off on that G and I start going up, a lot of times I'll hit the G and then I'll hit the D with my left hand while arpeggiating the right hand. And that's the slip note run. As you can see, it's a pretty versatile run. It's a lot of fun to play. And it's really based off of the same kind of chord grouping and the scale that you play, which is the pentatonic scale. You're playing kind of a 2 chord in one hand, and then you shift it and you move to like a first inversion with the 6th scale degree. Remember, it's based off the 1, 2, 3, skip that 4, play 5, 6, and skip the 7. That's your pentatonic scale. And you can play it a variety of ways. You can break it up, you can play it more in that country feel, you can play it arpeggiated, just add some flash, and it really is a lot of fun to play and really can add in certain moments. So I hope this is something that can really benefit you, add it to your bag of tricks. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Head over to pianosity.com to check out some of our courses, and remember, have fun practicing.